What is up, everybody? This is RybackStun. We have returned to Marvel Heroes, and today we're going to take a look at the biggest game update ever, and 3 specific systems that are going to change the way how you play the game. The changes are going to be power points to talents and traits, Omega system to Infinity system, and cores to catalysts. One of the major changes that you're going to have to be aware of right off the bat is the game is a little bit more difficult, and one of the reasons why is because we now have cooldowns on our charges. Charges, dashes, teleports, all those things. The reasoning of this is so that the game can be made a little bit more challenging, but on top of that, the bosses can be changed in such a way that they don't need screen wipe damage in order to kill every single player. Every dash, teleport, charge that's not based on a charge mechanic, a charge up mechanic, has a 4-second cooldown but has 3 charges. So you're not going to be stuck for 4 seconds without a dash unless you use your dash several times in a row. So if you move and you're trying to dodge an enemy's attack, boom, you dash, you have a cooldown, and you're going to gain a charge back. If you dash twice, you're going to be gaining charges as your cooldown refreshes. So now you go from 1 to 2, and eventually in 4 seconds you will go from 2 to 3. Some characters have more charges on their dashes. Some characters can get more charges on their dashes through talents. The other thing that has changed is that your travel power now has a wind-up, and it's about a second. It might be 3/4 of a second. I'm not entirely sure. But this is to prevent people from being able to just run through bosses and use their travel power as infinite dash anyway. So, major change. First major change is going to be the power system. You no longer have 3 trees. You have 2 trees. Most characters should have around the same amount of powers. Some characters have had their kits changed, such as Loki. And to certain degrees, characters like Taskmaster and Rogue. Because Rogue now has a stolen power bank. Taskmaster has talents that change all of his power, most of his powers. And things have been kind of added, removed, and changed in such a way to make most player experiences better. You should have the same amount of powers, the same types of powers. Most of your builds are going to be the same unless you play Loki, who is completely different. Every character will have at least 2 traits. Some characters will have 3, especially if they have mechanics that are unique to them or secondary resources. Every character will have 1 offensive and 1 defensive trait. For example, Captain America has Patriotic Soldier, which gives him base damage to serum powers, and every character has an archetype, which gives them 2 attributes that they can focus on to increase their damage by 4% per attribute, with the exception of Taskmaster, who is a jack of all trades, who can do every attribute, but he only gets 1.5% base damage per attribute gain. Defensively, Captain America has projectile reflection chance. Everybody should have at least 1 of these types of things, and then their own defensive archetype, which Captain America is tough. He's going to get defense and deflect rating. Every character will have 2 ratings that are increased by 600%, and a multiplier that is increased by 20%. Melee combatants will still have their 8% damage reduction. For characters that have secondary resources or mechanics, their 3rd trait will usually deal with that. Captain America's secondary resource is Serum. Everybody knows how Serum works, but it also applies Inspired to him while he's in combat, to allies. Team-wide buff, which reduces spirit cost reduction by 10%, and spirit generation for 4. Increases spirit regeneration. Not every character is going to have a buff like that, but a lot of characters will be able to get buffs through talents. Speaking of talents, you have 5 rows of 3 talents each. You can pick 1 in each row, much like specializations used to be, and get a lot of effectiveness out of how you're going to be doing your stuff. So quickly, right off the bat, we've got Combat Surge. Vibranium Bash gains additional serum. Meteorite Kick gains 5 serum regardless of current count. Heroic Strike allows every 3rd hit of your basic Heroic Strike to trigger Shield Swipe and increase the Shield Bash by 10%. Defensive Stance, when you spend a serum power, you gain 5% deflection chance for 4 seconds, and your Shield Strike gains the following effect, which is an increase in damage based upon deflect rating. So I use Vibranium Bash a lot, and Meteor Kick, it's nice. Next, we have Vibranium Feet. This tier deals with Indestructible Shield. There are some characters that will have 1 tier that affects 1 power or 1 set of powers, and that's to give people, essentially, a power to focus on in their kit while they use talents to affect other things. Vibranium Feedback has Indestructible Shield, gain a 2-second duration, and a 90% projectile reflection chance. Impenetrable gives Indestructible Shield 100% deflection chance that automatically activates if you fall below 30%, but a 30-second cooldown. And Reflect Damage gives Indestructible Shield cooldown reduction for 2 seconds when you hit with a serum power, with a 1-second cooldown on that reduction, and it also gives physical damage when you block with a melee attack. 3rd tier is going to grant you Cutting Edge. Shield Toss and Shield Bounce apply a physical dot, which has a 6-second duration. Shield Surge gives Shield Toss and Bounce 100% more damage and becomes Serum powers with cooldowns, using Serum to reduce their cooldowns. And then last but not least is Coordinated Strikes, giving Torque Shield Throw 50% more damage if used within 4 seconds of Meteor Kick, Star Spangled Strike, or Airborne Assault. Fourth tier is about Serum. You get Serum Rush. Serum powers spend all available Serum, gaining 5% damage per point. Double your maximum Serum with Reservoir of Strength. Or Stabilize Serum to remove Serum, grant all Serum powers 10% additional damage, and reduces the cooldown of those powers by 2 seconds each. So much like people who hate combo points, if you hate Serum, you can just remove it, which is quite nice. Last tier, we have effects of the Patriotic Taunt ability. Inspiration grants Inspire to all allies when you're in combat. Patriotic Taunt turns into Patriotic Speech, which empowers you and activates automatically when you use Star Spangled Strike. Empowered is what was used to be on the ultimate. It grants you 40% base damage for 5 seconds, essentially every time you use the signature, which should be about every 28 seconds. Which is awesome. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Patriotic Speech has a 20-second cooldown, but that's not going to be that big of a deal. We have Lead by Example, which applies Strengthen, which is damage and crit hit multiplier increased by 10%, and Patriotic Taunt applies Quicken, which is 25% movement speed and attack speed for 5 seconds. Vigilance is Guarded, which gives you base health, which is increased by 10%, and health regeneration of 1% maximum health per second, and then Patriotic Taunt will grant you Rapid Healing, which is 20% maximum health per second for a 3-second duration. No more medkits, you just have a medkit ability, which restores a certain amount of health, and then also a percent of your health per second with a cooldown that can be reduced by things later on. The next system that we have is the Infinity system. The Infinity system is 6 gems that are all based on an attribute that grant different power bonuses depending on what you take. So, in Mind is Intelligence. It grants you Spirit Cost Reduction, which I'm going to take 50 of these to reduce my Spirit Cost by 12.5%. Health Regeneration, which is going to give you health regeneration per second. Summon Ally Health, and then Flat Spirit. Next, we have the Power Gem, which is Strength. The reason why all of these are attribute-based is because your archetypes will give you extra damage based upon attributes. So for Captain America, Strength and Fighting is what he wants. I dump all my points into Strength. But you can also take Summon Ally Damage, less damage versus attacks, Ultimate Power Cooldown, and base damage versus signatures. Excuse me, 2 signatures. Next we have the Reality Gem, which is Energy. It also has critical damage, critical hit chance, life on hit, which I almost always take, and then base damage versus enemies not targeting you. Next we have the Soul Gem, which is Fighting, which we take because Captain America's archetype deals with that. Brutal damage, brutal strike chance, base health, and base damage to your team up when you hit with a power. After taking the attribute, I generally take base health. Next we have the Space Gem, which is Durability, but it also grants base damage to area powers, deflection chance, dodge chance, and total defense rating. I take one of each of these to get 1%, and then the rest into micro-ups because total defense rating really does help. And then last but not least, we have the Time Gem, which deals with speed. It also reduces damage, increases damage to movement powers, increases your attack speed, reduces dash and teleport power cooldown, and increases your movement speed. So I try to take about 25 points into attack speed and then stick the rest into haste. So that way I can move faster, because moving faster is fun. So that's the Infinity system. Very easy. Every time you earn an Infinity point, it goes into one of these trees that I believe goes in the order Mind, Power, Reality, Soul, Space, Time. Unsure about that, though. So, it does go in a rotation, though. You can't just stack all your points into one gem, because that would be super unfair. All attributes have changed. Durability now provides a defense rating multiplier and health. Strength applies deflection rating multiplier and reduced damage from deflected attacks. Fighting applies crit rating multiplier and reduced damage taken from melee attacks. Speed adds dodge rating and less damage from area attacks. Energy does less damage from range attacks and reduces your spirit costs. And then Intelligence increases your critical hit damage and reduces your medkit cooldown. The last system we're going to take a look today is the Catalyst system. No longer do you have to attach cores to your costumes. You can now pick up catalysts throughout the world that have rarities. Green, blue, purple, and cosmic. Each of these have different variable effects on top of them once you pick them up at the world. Not ones that were converted from before, because those don't. They weren't able to generate the abilities onto those affixes. But you will still, any previous core that you had before turn into a catalyst of 4 types. I don't remember the 4 types off the top of my head. You'll be able to look those up elsewhere. But they'll all be on your heroes. And for example, you'll also be able to put crafted affixes on your catalysts and visuals. So my original Captain America core is just fine, but I'll be on the lookout for another core, because one of the major changes to core catalysts is there's no more invulnerable on Medkit, which is another thing that they're trying to do to make the game a little bit more balanced, so you can't just infinitely dodge damage forever. You now have a 100% health damage shield applied to you when you use that, and it's only in the cosmic affects of cosmic catalysts. So it's going to be a little bit harder to hunt for, but there's going to be other affixes that you'll possibly want to get on those things. And right now, regenerate 25% of your health and 100 spirit when you use Medkit is the tip-top catalyst affix everybody is looking for, because we are taking more damage because difficulties have shifted, and we don't have the ability to get out of damage as well as we did before. Team-up heroes have also no longer have power points. They have all of their powers active, and they have their own team-up synergy, which gives you 1% bonus damage, base damage per mastery level of the team-up on the team-up, and you get 2% per mastery level 60 team-up in your roster up to 100%. So 50 total level 60 team-ups will have 100% synergy, which means at the end of the day, you should have 160% for your team-ups once you get all 50 of those done. Uniques no longer have power points. They have attributes, which are super important until Omega items come in, and Omega items will have attributes rolling on them as well. When those come out, we'll make another video, which is going to be an interesting day. Artifacts have also had changes done to them, such as Blessed White Suit Jacket, or just White Suit Jacket, which it now still has health as it does before, but now it has durability and physical damage rating instead of defense rating and flat damage rating. A lot of artifacts have had changes, so check your artifacts and make sure you're doing different things. Make sure you have attributes that apply to your character, because those are super important in the long run, because they will increase your damage, and as you gain more infinity points, you'll gain more damage from your archetype. So notice how, because of all my attributes, I'm gaining 232% additional base damage for Captain America, and he'll run out there and smack people in the face. The last change we're going to cover today is the difficulty slider. Every zone will have multiple difficulties to play, almost every zone. Some zones have static difficulties that you can only play at certain rarities, especially things like Cosmic Midtown, which will only be able to play in Cosmic difficulty, so on and so forth. Terminals no longer have separations, you just have the difficulty bar, so you can go, if I wanted to go to Times Square, I could do green, I could do red, or I can do Cosmic, yellow, whatever it is. The difficulty scaling has changed a little bit. You're going to have green difficulty is going to be about the same as it was before. Fairly easy game to play. You can complete story mode on green or red and do a couple different things with those. Red difficulty is going to be the difference between what red terminals used to be and what cosmic content used to be. Right in that middle section, maybe a little bit more tuned towards what cosmic content used to be. The biggest change is going to be cosmic difficulty, which is going to be harder to play than cosmic content used to be across the board. We're looking at cosmic difficulty being middle and low end cosmic danger room difficulty. So make sure you are super prepared when you go in to do cosmic difficulty, otherwise you're going to get killed. So, that's all the major changes. Throughout the next couple weeks, what I'm going to try to do is get some build videos out for characters. I guess technically this considers as Captain America's build video, since you see what I've done. But other build videos will showcase me doing content, showing you how the character works, so on and so forth. Eventually I'll have Spider-Man, Nova, Rogue, and a couple other characters coming out down the line. I would like to have as a goal all 59 heroes, 61 Beast comes out, as build guides with the new system, so that way you guys can at least see what the traits do, and then how some of the better traits work together in concert with that character. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did showcasing it to you. Remember to like and comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitch and Twitter at RybackStun Twitter for all the updates you can possibly need by me. And that's it, folks. Thank you very much for hanging out. With that, this is RybackStun, signing out.